My name is Vivek Kumar.
Sir, you
And
can start the cloud recording, sir. Vivek, sir, please.
yeah, I already started, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, hello friends, my name is Vivek Kumar, and we will be together today and tomorrow at the very least. And maybe I'm looking forward to some more sessions. I will request our coordinators to plan some more sessions. So, my dear friends, since we will be together today and tomorrow, I would like to first develop a common understanding how these sessions we want to conduct. So I trust that you people will agree that we would like not only to understand the theoretical concepts and the academic part of it, but we would also like to learn how to implement these concepts on the improvement projects that we are going to conduct as Lean Six Sigma practitioners. Who all are agreeable with that? That in addition to the theoretical knowledge, we must need to learn that skill, how to actually implement and successfully implement these concepts in our day-to-day projects. Just show me a thumbs up. Praveen sir, yes sir? Yes. So I can see lots of thumbs ups coming up. So this sets a good tone for me. So let us agree to two things. Number one, all of us are agreeable that we want to learn, all of us, including myself, in such a manner that we become more and more effective and are able to implement these concepts. And another very interesting method we have discussed. So whenever you are agreeable with me or happy, you can show me a thumbs up, maybe a virtually, maybe a physical thumbs up. And there might be some instances when you are not really agreeable or you are not happy or you're not understood or you are angry, you can show me a thumbs down. So that will be a signal for me to further explore and understand what makes you unhappy. So who all are agreeable with this mode of communication? All of us? Yes, wonderful. Now I have one request, or you can call it a precondition. Uh, since all of us are going to learn from each other, I request all of you to be highly interactive. Please add, stop me whenever you wish, right? And start explaining your point of view, bring in your examples, bring up your concerns, bring up your questions. This has to be a highly interactive a platform we are discussing these concepts. My dear friends, at this level, when we are learning master black belt skills, it's not only about me telling you certain concepts or showing certain PowerPoints. It is really a discussion coming from various many different expert experiences that you people have, right? And for that matter, this is not going to be a monologue.
Vivek, sir, I'm taking leave, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Welcome, sir.
So for that matter, it is not going to be a monologue. It is not going to be a dialogue either. I see this more as a panel discussion where, since all of you are coming from very big industrial and business experiences, and let us learn from each other. Let us use those real life examples, that real life problems that you solved, and maybe certain problems that we are still struggling with. That's what we will discuss, and let's convert this to our discussion into a kind of panel discussion coordinated and anchored by me. For that, I will request all of you to please come on cameras. Don't be shy. All of you, I trust, are very good looking. And moreover, it really helps us remain connected, remain alert, and be able to participate. One can only participate when one is interacting, one is on camera. So at your convenience, please remain on cameras and please feel free. Rather, I request you to ask questions, raise doubts, and so on. So, my dear friends, today we are going to have a panel discussion on two interesting topics. One is called theory of constraints, and another is called balanced scorecard. I would like to start with the concept of balanced scorecard, and I will start sharing my presentation so that this remains a structured discussion. But as always, I would prefer that whenever you feel like you ask questions, give your own examples, and at the very least, keep connecting whatever the concept you are discussing, the theoretical concept that you are going to see on screen and that we are going to discuss. Please try and connect those with some real life situation, some real life scenario that will help you retain the concept. Otherwise, it will be just a 2 hour interesting session. We want it to be interesting, but in addition to that, we want it to be effective as well. So, my dear friends, please allow me to share my presentation. And this is where balance scorecard. Yes. Yes, here we are. So please confirm that you are able to see the screen. Just show me a thumbs up. Praveen sir, Ajay sir. So my dear friends, the first 1 hour or so, we are going to spend on discussing what a balanced scorecard is and how we can make a highly effective use of this concept in converting the vision of the organizations into reality. That, my dear friends, is the crux of the whole discussion. As probably you might have been hearing from Dr. GSK, Dr. RK, that this journey of improvement starts with a vision of the organization, that what that particular organization wants to become in, let's say, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or maybe 10 years. Now, for achieving that vision, what we do, we create a kind of mission. That is, this is exactly what we are going to do. And for that, we create some kind of a strategy. Yes or no? So from vision, we develop our strategies that tells us that these are the steps, these are the initiatives, these are the tasks that we are going to do as an organization that will help us realize that vision. So the balanced scorecard, as you will very soon realize, is not only a performance measurement tool, it is much more than that. In addition to a continual performance measurement tool that keeps all the organization aligned, it also keeps all the organization focused on the vision by way of strategic map. So I call this balanced scorecard a methodology for translating strategy into action while keeping the whole organization as one coherent. My dear friends, Ajay sir, Praveen sir, I can see you, both of you, and I can understand from your body language that you are kind of aligned with me. So
Yes,
it is not only just about creating some kind of a KPIs and measuring how the performance is doing. It is really a action plan for translating strategy into action. So in today's discussion, this is going to be the structure. We will first have a look at what is a balanced scorecard. How is it used in businesses? What are the various characteristics of the balanced scorecard model? We will also compare it with other popular models of strategic planning deployment and also performance measurement. And we will then see what are the specific benefits that we get when we apply this methodology of balanced scorecard. And then we will see what is the meaning of strategic mapping. So, my dear friends, balanced scorecard, as I mentioned, is a methodology for translating strategy into action. So, for strategy focused organizations, we are going to learn that how balanced scorecards help company thrive in present volatile unpredictable, uncertain, and complex business environment of today. My dear friends, this concept was brought to the table in 1992 via a paper which was published in the Harvard Business Review, and it is written by Robert S. Kaplan and David P. Norton. And both of these gentlemen are widely credited as having introduced this concept of balanced scorecard to the next screen. You are going to see how Mr. Kaplan and Norton began this 1992 paper. This is the screenshot of the HBR, Harvard Business Review paper. Balanced scorecard, measures that drive performance, and this is how they started their dialogue, their message. This is how they started to communicate. This is the first few lines of their research paper. So Shweta ma'am, I will request you to help me out by reading this out, the first two paragraphs of the research paper by Kaplan and Norton.
Yes, sir. Able to hear my voice, sir?
Yeah.
The balance scorecard measures that drive performance. What you measure is what you get. Senior
Right.
executives,
So, ma'am, I will just like to stop you here for a moment, and I would like you to repeat. This is the core line that kind of summarizes everything. What you measure is what you get. Whatever you are measuring, that is going to be rewarded, and that is exactly what your people will be doing. That is exactly what your managers will be striving to achieve. So please start once again from this line. What you measure is what you get.
yes. So, what you measure is what you get. Senior executives understand that their organization measurement system strongly affects the behavior of managers and employees. Executives also understand that traditional financial accounting measures like return on investment and earnings per share can give misleading signals for continuous improvement and innovation. Activities today's competitive environment demands. The traditional financial performance measures worked well for the industrial era, but they are out of step with the skills and competencies companies are trying to master today.
Yeah. Thanks, ma'am, for such a wonderful recital
Thank you, sir.
that helped us understand this core concept. Now, please realize, and I want 100% attention of all of you, which companies are the most successful companies in today's day and time? Apple, Meta, Tesla, SpaceX, right? All these are, my dear friends, knowledge companies. Yes or no? Show me a thumbs up. And they become so very successful because some 20-25 years ago, they realized that the next big thing is not just profit maximization, not just focusing on doing better what you are doing right now, but doing innovation by doing and continual improvement. That is why Toyota is so very successful. Focus is on continual improvement. Why Meta, Apple, SpaceX, Tesla are highly successful? They are focused on innovation. Your Anthropic, your OpenAI, all these are focused on innovation. So, my dear friends, now we have realized that as we move beyond the industrial age, the performance measurement systems that we are using, the measurement of success that we are using in the industrial era, some 40-50 years ago, like return on investment, price per share, market capitalization, they are not really sufficient. We will have to identify some more measures. And obviously, just as Mr. Kaplan and Norton said, that you get only what you measure, because that is what tells everyone in the organization that this is what organization is going to reward. If organization is going to reward innovation, people will be focusing on innovation. If organization is going to measure and thereby rewarding continual improvement, it is only then your team, your people will be interested in doing innovation. Yes. So my dear friends, what you measure is what you get gives us a very clear and razor sharp idea that whatever we want to maximize has to be a part of our measurement system. If you are just measuring the production, people will be focusing on maximizing the production. However, as we move beyond the industrial era, we now realize that just measuring the financial measures is not sufficient. So I will now request Ajay sir to read out this slide. This is kind of explaining whatever we have just discussed. Ajay sir, over to you.
Yes, sir. My voice is clear, sir.
Yeah, 100% clear. Very loud and very clear.
Yeah. As managers and academic researchers have tried to remedy the inadequacies of traditional performance measurement system, some have focused on making financial measure more relevant. Others have said, forget the financial measure, improve operational measure like cycle time and defect rates. The financial results will follow. But managers should not have to choose between financial and operational measure. Senior executive need not rely on one set of measurement to the exclusion of the other. They realize that no single measure can provide a clear performance target or focus attention on the critical areas of the business. Managers want a balanced presentation of both financial and operational measures.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So you have made so very clear the very concept. So managers now want a balanced presentation of both financial as well as operational measures. And soon we are going to see that there are two more perspectives that will be added to the financial measures and the operational measures. That tells me to move to the next slide. And as I told you, in 1992, the first research paper came up, which was about the balanced scorecard. And as the momentum grew and people realized that now it is a time to step up and move to the next step of the ladder, which is about strategic deployment. So how it initially started? Initially, it started that we realized that only focusing on the financial measures is not sufficient. Then, as the years passed on, organizations began to realize that it is not only about measurement, it is basically about, as I told you in the very beginning, converting your vision into a strategy and how to deploy that strategy. For that, this is how this paper came up in year 2000, which was now again 26 years ago. So that paper was named Having Trouble with Your Strategy? Then Map It. Again by Robert S. Kaplan and David P. Norton, again in Harvard Business Review. And this is how they started their research paper. So now I will request Praveen sir to help us read out the first two paragraphs of the research paper by Robert Kaplan and David P. Norton, year 2000, Harvard Business Review. And the name of the paper is Having Trouble with Your Strategy? Then Map It. Over to Praveen sir now.
Yes, sir. Having trouble with your strategy? Then Map It by Robert S. Kaplan and David P. Norton. Imagine that you are a general taking your troops into foreign territory. Obviously, you would need detailed maps showing the important towns and villages, the surrounding landscape, key structures like bridges and tunnels, and the roads and highways that traverse the region. Without such information, you couldn't communicate your campaign strategy to your field officers and the rest of your troops. The key to executing your strategy is to have people in your organization understand it, including the crucial but perplexing processes by which intangible, that's where
Intangible results will be.
it stops there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so the obvious logical continuation of this is intangible operational efficiency.
Operationals. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So the key to executing your strategy is to have people in your organization understand it. My dear friends, and unless your top managers, your senior managers do not understand their strategy, don't understand why we are doing what we are doing, they are not going to do that. Therefore, the key here is to execute, the key for executing our strategy is to have people in our organization understand it, including the crucial but perplexing processes which will reach out to the intangible benefits and all. So the point is that strategy, how it can be understood until unless you create a visible map of that. You show them the logical consequences of their actions. What leads to what? Right? So the best way of visualizing and remembering and communicating is to create a map. Yes or no? That is exactly why when we start, we create a process flow map, PFDs or process flow diagrams. Yes or no? And
Yes.
similarly, when a strategy needs to be deployed, what a wonderful way it would be if we are able to convert that into a kind of a visual map that helps people not only understand, not only remember, but also see the logic why this is what we are going to. If all of us are agreeable with that, can I see thumbs ups or maybe thumbs downs if it is not going too well? Okay, wonderful. So I can see a lot of thumbs ups coming up. So now this is the first. And if you wish, I have the downloaded copies of both these research papers. I can share that with you. But the condition probably is that you will have to connect with me on LinkedIn because it is only there I am going to share. So by the end of the session, I will be sharing my LinkedIn profile with you. So, and in any ways, that is going to help all of us. Let's remain connected. Okay, so this is the screenshot of the research paper that came up in 1992. And this is the screenshot of the research paper that came up. Not really research paper, we shall call it a management management paper, yes, but very popular. So in 2000, in year 2000, having trouble with your strategy, then map it. Now, this was a brief, somewhat concise introduction of what is the purpose of balanced scorecard. Let's take a couple of steps back and let's see how this concept of performance measurement and alignment of the individual goals with the organizational goal has been happening over the year. Very popular concept is known as MBO, that is known as management by objectives. Very popular. Even now we do that. Every company, every organization does that. Every manager, for every appraisal, we say that, okay, these were your KPIs and this is what you have achieved. So this is actually what the very correct terminologies will be. Suppose Praveen sir is the CEO and I am the senior manager. So in the time of appraisal, I will go to the Praveen sir, and Praveen sir, I will tell, hi Praveen sir, CEO sir, please do appraisal for me. So he will tell me that, okay, Mr. Vivek, these were the objectives for you. Sales this much, return on investment this much, profitability this much, market penetration this much. And against these objectives, these KPIs, key performance indicators, this is what you have achieved. That is how he is going to measure my performance. And based on this, then he will give me another objectives and some set of KPIs, that is key performance indicators. So this is how typically all the organizations have been working, which is known as management by objectives. Now, another very popular term, and which is more popular, which has been made more popular since it is being used in Google, one of the most successful companies of our times. They have slightly tweaked it, and the version they use, and for that matter, all the big software companies use that is OKR, objectives and key results. So quite often you will hear this word also. So the CEOs will say that as long as my OKRs are meeting, I do not care. Only yesterday I was reading an article in Times of India. It says one of the very big CEOs says that as long as my OKRs are happening, I don't care whether my people come to the office or they work from home. So OKR is a kind of a buzzword. Murugasan sir, it is a kind of buzzword. Then people say that as long as I am getting the desired results, right? So these are kind of OKRs, MBOs, KPIs. We need to understand, because whenever we go to any organization, people will be talking in these terms. MBOs, the concept of management by objectives. That is management by setting up goals for the managers, for the supervisors. This was introduced by Mr. Peter Drucker in his book, which he brought up in 1954. The name of the book is The Practice of Management. And this was considered a very useful tool to improve the organizational performance. In a sense, MBO, that is management by objective, what it does, it describes a process of defining specific and clear. Specific and clear. For that matter, it has to be SMART goals. People keep talking of that. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. SMART is an acronym. So whenever we say, as a manager, whenever I talk to my people, I tell them that, okay, whenever you are deciding any goal, when you are doing MBO, those goals have to be SMART, meaning that they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be attainable, they have to be relevant, and they have to be time bound. Some management jargon. I'm just introducing you because you people are working in serious senior managerial positions. So defining specific and clear objectives for employees and is designed to create a culture of working towards common organizational goals. My dear friends, I want all of you to take a deep breath here, because MBO is not only about giving every individual his specific target, but as a CEO or as a chairman or as a top business leader, we need to understand that whatever targets I am giving to my various different managers, ultimately they have to be coherent in such a manner that they are taking my organization forward. Right? So they have to be kind of correlated, kind of talking to each other. For example, if I give a target of my sales team to increase the sales volume by 25%, obviously I will have to give a similar target to my production unit. And I will have to give a similar or corresponding target to my sourcing and purchasing people. Yes or no? Because until unless they are able to source that much of raw material, and until unless my manufacturing people are able to manufacture that much, how can my sales team go and sell that? So, culture of working towards common organizational goals. That, my dear friends, is the key. So, as this concept was introduced in early 1950s, the concept spread very widely and has become the norm for many companies. You will realize that even today, more than 90-95% of the companies, especially in MSME sector, especially in manufacturing sector, are working with this concept of MBO. Yes or no? So, if you think of a classical way of managing performance, that is the manager agrees objectives with each employees and then the performance and the compensation is assessed against these objectives, and this is, if you do that, what you are actually doing is management by objective. Right now, the buzzword is OKR. They are somewhat related, but with a fine difference. So, when you give the objective to a person, let's say Praveen sir is the chairman and I am a senior manager and he is giving me some kind of objective. So that is, it is just limited to, okay, Mr. Vivek, senior manager marketing, you are supposed to this year 25-26 grow the sales by 25%. This is the objective. But how that will happen? What are the key result areas? Crack top 10 retailers, get really create a place in, let's say, virtual marketplace, be on Amazon, be on Flipkart, do some digital marketing. Exactly how I am going to do that, if I am able to list that out also, that is what is called detailing the key result areas. Those key strategic steps will help me achieve the single objective of increasing the sale by 25%. All of us who are getting the point, show me a thumbs up. So when we are moving from objectives to OKRs, in addition to defining the objectives, we are also defining the strategic steps that we are supposed to take. Rajesh sir, Suvarna ma'am, Kumar sir, please come on camera then. Just if you are not comfortable, just keep showing me the thumbs ups if you are aligned with me. So this MBO, when we go beyond this MBO and go to OKRs, this is breaking down the whole concept into two things: the objectives, the O's, and the key results, that is the KRs. Essentially, this means that you set a goal and then you also define how you will achieve it. How this came into being, this was popularized by Mr. John Doerr, who was the first initial investors into Google, and from his years in Intel, he learned that concept of OKR, and then he introduced this to founders of Google, and they adopted it. And even now, you can see in 2024, he ran a digital campaign to make the OKR possible. So OKR evolved from MBOs, and this is exactly what, there are some clear differences between the two approaches. That is, MBO sets out what you want to achieve, while OKRs set out what as well as how. Can you see that? I gave you one example. The objective, what I want to get, 25% increase in sales. How? Be on these platforms, get into touch with these retailers, and so on. So now you can see that the OKRs and the KPIs are complementary goal setting frameworks, where what is KPI? KPI continually measures the ongoing health and performance of your business, and OKRs drive ambitious change and strategic growth. So to remember this, the very popular analogy is the car dashboard analogy. The easiest way to understand the difference between KPIs and OKRs is to think of our business as a car. KPIs are your dashboard. They are continually gauging and telling you that you have enough petrol, if your engine is overheating, this is the speed at which you are right now moving. You check these consistently, no matter where you are driving. Whereas OKRs are your road. They tell you that this is the road that you need to take. Angaraja sir, am I pronouncing your name correctly? So will you help us read out this? What is the car dashboard analogy? Please help us understand.
Sir, my name is Tangaraj. So I'll go ahead with the analogy. The car dashboard analogy. The easiest way to understand the difference is to think of your business as a car. KPIs or your dashboard. They are the steady gauges that tell you if you have enough gas, if your engine is overheating, or if your speed is consistent. You check these constantly no matter where you are driving. OKRs are your roadmap. They tell you where you want to travel next. Example, reaching a new scenic destination and the milestones you need to hit to get there. Once you reach the destination, you create a new roadmap for the next quarter.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So that, my dear friends, in a nutshell, and thank you very much, sir, for such a wonderful readout to this slide. So that has helped us, all of us, understand in such a very clear manner. So OKR also tells you which road to take. Yes, whereas KPI tells us how you are doing right now. And when you compare, when you have both these, that tells you that how good and how likely you are to reach their Valentine and so on. Now, whatever discussion we have had in last 10-15 minutes was focused mostly around your objectives, your KPIs, and your roadmaps. And this typically happens mostly in financial terms, mostly in terms of production terms or in terms sales terms, right? For example, this much production, this much sales, mostly in terms of financials. Whereas when I started this panel discussion today, I told you that we will be highly mistaken if we are considering and we are focusing only on the financial results, or for that matter, only on the operational metrics. For example, the cycle time or the inventory turnover ratios or the changeover times. So financial metrics are very important. But as we can see how the financial metrics, how the financial results will be achieved if our operational results are good. If our cycle times are less, they are aligned with the takt times. Tomorrow we are going to have a lot of discussion around what do you mean by cycle time, takt time, throughput time, lead time, what that means and all. But right now, I hope that all of us are can visualize that only until unless our operations are working fundamentally well, we can hope to achieve great financial results. So till now, we have focused that, we have realized that financial results are important as well as your operational results are important. But balanced scorecard approach brings in two another concepts also. We were talking of the, can you see my cursor, my dear friends? We were talking of the financial results, that is the revenue, the OPEX, the net profit. The focus is financial performance of the business. And we are also talking of the internal performance factors. That is the efficiency of our business. The KPIs here will be your machine downtime, your inventory levels, your unit costs. Simple examples, Shweta ma'am, yes or no? We have been talking of these two things. Financial performance, where the focus is on financial performance of the business. The internal, where the focus is on efficiency of the business. But this concept of balanced scorecard showed us that there are two more very important perspectives. We call these four as perspectives: financial perspective, internal perspective, customer's perspective, and learning and growth perspective. What is the meaning of the this customer perspective? Customer satisfaction. We need to measure the customer satisfaction. The level of returns, the lifetime value, customer satisfaction, customer loyalty. My dear friends, I will take this opportunity to tell you that why Tesla became such a successful company and why the typical hydrocarbon fuel companies are now lagging behind, because they were not measuring the customer satisfaction. Certain organizations realized that, and for that matter, that goes for Apple as well. The Android people were happy with whatever they were doing. They were not exploring the new technologies. They were not exploring proactively the changing needs and expectations and desires of the customer. So, my dear friends, don't you agree with me that in addition to measuring the revenue and the OPEX and net profit, and for that matter, machine downtime or the inventory levels or the unit cost or the takt times or the cycle times, or the changeover times, we must also proactively make effort to capture and understand what the customer wants, how happy he is with me as against the newer and upcoming and different competitors offerings. So, and we will have to measure that as well. Also, an organization is as strong, as capable, only as strong, only as capable as its people. Show me a thumbs up if you are agreeable. Vision excellence is good because of the people we have on board. Therefore, please realize that for any successful organization, the learning and the growth of their people, the competence building of the people. It is the people who are the organization, not your infrastructure, not your building, not your machines. People are the organization. And if you want to strengthen and make organization successful, what we need to do? Make your people stronger, make your people confident, invest in their learning and growth, and therefore internal knowledge and rewarding innovation is the game changer. My dear friends, show me 2 thumbs ups if you are completely agreeable with this concept. People. So the focus has to be on increasing and enhancing the competencies of the people and rewarding innovation. Both these things. And those organizations have become completely unmatchable, completely unbeatable, who have invested in increasing the competencies of their own people and rewarding innovation and continual improvement.
Sir, one quick question, sir.
Please, sir.
Sir, we talked about the perplexity from the intangibles and how we convert the intangibles into tangibles and making the objectives more visible. And we're talking about OKRs and Google typically has moved on from MBOs to OKR type of objectives
And then
key results.
from MBOs to OKRs and then to BSCs.
Yeah. So, there is increased visibility and, clarity on and tangibility that is associated with this development. At the same time, an organization like Google, the performance, the operational, the acceleration when you compare, from the other organizations, people, get, really pressurized or, stressed out to meet the performance expectations of organizations like Google. And we see so many examples of people unable to, meet those goals and challenges. And, very capable people also fall out of the organization because of those challenges. What I'm trying to say is, possibly due to the financial goals from this balanced scorecard, there is a extended pressure coming from the internal operational aspects or customer expectations and this the growth objectives and expectations. So how do we
I would
balance
really
it,
like
sir,
to thank you
organization?
for raising this question at this point in time. And
Yeah.
your question actually supports the argument for going from OKRs to BSCs, because Google is working with OKR concept. They have not moved to BSCs. So they are focusing on what? They are focusing on financial performance and they are focusing on the internal efficiencies. They are
Correct.
not focusing on growing and creating a situation where people feel happy, where people feel supported. So this is a typical American way of working. And that is also a very highly successful approach. So they want people to be in race with each other, compete with each other, and let the best man win. So that is one approach. And then there is a Japanese approach. And I will say that this is more of an Asian approach, Indian approach, where we want that as a team, we are going to win. So only time will tell who is going to ultimately. So there is a mad race here when you are focusing only on these. And then there is a team building approach when we are focusing on these, right? So very famously, and since I am a very profound supporter and advocate of lean methodology, which is based on Toyota Production Company, and the father of Toyota production system used to say that in my company, Toyota, people do not come to make cars. They come to find ways. They come to create ways by which they can create great cars. And our role as managers is to create those great people who will create great cars. So his idea was to support and create more and more competent people. So that is how. So as you will see that in the balanced scorecard, what is the KPI here? Employee retention, level of new product ideas, employee satisfaction. This is really what is missing in OKR report. And this is really, as you very correctly mentioned, is another human angle. And there are organizations who are completely sold out to this concept. So I am also 100% agreeable to that. So, and that is why balanced scorecard is significantly different approach from your OKR. OKR is just focusing on the results. Here we are talking of employee retention. Here we are talking of employee satisfaction. Here we are talking of employee happiness. And I've seen organizations, including some in Jaipur itself, who have appointed chief happiness officer. They just check how happy people are working in this organization, and they reward, and that is how we have created some highly successful companies. So yes, there are two different school of thoughts. And balanced scorecard is a school of thought which believes that people happiness and rewarding innovation is something very important for the organization. So as you now can see that at the center, there is a vision and strategy. And this is supported by 4 different specific distinct perspectives. 4 perspectives: financial perspective, internal perspective, customer's perspective, and learning and growth perspective. So the balanced scorecard is a management system which is aiming at translating an organization's strategic goals into a set of organizational performance objectives that in turn are measured, monitored, and changed if it's necessary to ensure that organization's strategic goals are met. But most important than all that words are the focus on these 4 different perspectives. And as we move on in today's discussion, you will see that how all these are related. That is what we are going to learn when we see the strategy mapping aspect of today's BSc Balanced Scorecard discussion. Another similar tool, which is coming from the Toyota production system toolbox, which has been now adopted as a lean toolbox part, is X matrix and Hoshin Kanri. It is also, probably somebody has taught you earlier, this is a strategy deployment, the Japanese way, X matrix. Maybe sometimes if probably you have an exposure to this, otherwise I will talk to GSK and I will have a half an hour session on this also. So this is also talking of converting your strategy into some actionable and aligned initiatives and projects. And so this is how your X matrix and Hoshin Kanri. So this is the Japanese tool for strategy policy deployment, and what we are learning now is the American tool BSc, that is balanced scorecard. It is again the strategy deployment tool. This is Hoshin Kanri, which is right now on our screen. It is also known as policy deployment. Another example of the same. Now, as I was trying to focus on the balanced scorecard, I told you that there are 4 different perspectives. The balanced scorecard approach. Yes, Ajay bhai.
एक छोटा सा कंफ्यूजन है या क्लैरिफिकेशन
हाँ बताइए ना.
आज nowadays जो भी MNCs हैं या इंडियन कंपनी है या बिगर कंपनी है who are doing the business apart, they are not people building at all. They are just focusing their revenue, they are just focusing their objective, they are just focusing their own thing. And people are frustrated day by day. You see the industry, people are very much frustrated in every corner. I was 30 years in the GlaxoSmithKline, which is very people friendly, I understand. But other companies are facing the pressure. So, usme how relevant is this balanced scorecard? For knowledge purpose, it is okay. We are learning, but how it will be implemented, this is
Very correct, sir. So I will, if I have understood your question correctly, and you have very correctly pointed out to the core problem of the organizations in India right now. So even now they are defining KPIs, how they measure success. What is a KPI? How do you measure success? What are the measurements? Do you remember? Shweta ma'am has told us that what you measure is what you get. Shweta ma'am, thank you very much for that buzzword. So what you measure is what you get. If you are measuring only financial successes, people will be working only towards that. So our task as policy advisors, as coaches, as guides will be to help top management realize that in addition to measuring these financial results, let us first start measuring the operational results, and we must also start measuring the customer's perspective, and we must also start measuring the employee retention, employee happiness. We must also start rewarding innovation. We must start rewarding continual improvement. And please realize that those organizations who have successfully, why Tata is such a, do you know anyone who has ever worked in any of the Tata businesses? They will say that Tatas are very people centric. People rarely leave Tata and move away. Of course, there are two different thoughts. I know people who have worked for Reliance in very senior managerial positions, and I also know people who have worked for Tatas in very senior managerial positions. And there are very two different ways of working. If you go to any Reliance board meeting, they will be punching you left, right, and center, however senior you are.
I am working with Reliance actually, subsidiary of Reliance, so I know that.
तभी आपको ऐसा लग रहा है तो रिलायंस का जो
No, sir. No, sir. Actually, my whole life experience is 30 years in GlaxoSmithKline for rates.
हाँ तो वो ग्लैक्सो में आपको
Wonderful.
दूसरा वाला ग्लैक्सो
Yeah,
में आपको दूसरा वाला पर्सपेक्टिव मिला होगा. तो आप
correct.
दोनों
My
में आपको
change.
चौक एंड चीज का डिफरेंस मिलेगा. रिलायंस में
Yeah,
आप
my
काम
total
करेंगे.
paradigm has been shifted.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. तो वही मैं बता रहा हूँ. तो वेयर वर यू मोर हैप्पी? Maybe since Reliance is paying more, so at the end of the day, this conflict always remains. Because even now, as I can see, that Reliance is more successful than Tata's. So at the end of the day, ultimately it boils down to getting results and all. But yes, this is also a very interesting approach, and I advocate that until unless you become like Reliance, that big with that kind of deep pocket, be a Tata, so that there are people to support in your difficult times. So for MSMEs, it is better to treat people with respect. And I've really felt good. So I was working, leading certain business organizations. I run a couple of businesses, worked for some as a CEO in MSME sector. And even now, since I run, let's say, this coaching part. So if I am respecting you, you are respecting me. If I am loving you, you are loving me back. And that is going to help my business. Yes or no? So that is the kind of approach this balance scorecard tells us. It tells us that in addition to your financial, in addition to your business cycle time and inventory thing, you also need to focus on respect for the people. And as we go to the lean approach, maybe sometimes some of you would have participated in the Lean Champion course that Vision Excellence runs. There are two pillars. One is process improvement, and another is respect for people. That is the cornerstone. And just as Ajay sir is a witness to both the approaches, yes. So I have seen people who are happy with Reliance. I have seen more people who are more happy with Tata's.
Maybe my background is from Glaxo and Hindustan Unilever, so I may not be more happy.
जी जी जी। तो बिल्कुल हमें समझ में आ रहा है कि ये लोग क्यों कह रहे हैं कि लर्निंग एंड ग्रोथ एंड पीपल सेटिस्फैक्शन, एम्प्लॉय सेटिस्फैक्शन को भी एक केपीआई बनाओ। बनाओगे इसको तो तुम टाटा के रास्ते पे जाओगे, नहीं बनाओगे तो रिलायंस के रास्ते पर जाओगे। अब दोनों ही रास्ते है तो ठीक ही, क्या
सर, वो
बताया जाए पर
they are making everything, but they are not following everything.
लेकिन मैं यही मान रहा हूं कि एज लॉन्ग एज यू आर नॉट अनएथिकल,
Right.
कोई ऐसा मतलब अपराध वो भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, until unless you are doing some unethical things. These are two different approaches and maybe both of them are right. Right now we are trying to understand what is the let's say Glaxo's approach or Toyota's approach, which tells us that we must focus on people retention, people happiness, people satisfaction as well. And so बहुत सारी चीजें बहुत कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी होती हैं। जो अमेरिकन हैं दे आर फोकस्ड ऑन इनोवेशन, big changes, sudden boom. Japanese and Chinese, they are focused on small continual improvements. And then ultimately with those small continual improvements, big results come up. So even China is following the lean methodology and became such a successful. So it is not कि भाई वो केवल बहुत बड़े innovation से ही हम बड़े बन पाएंगे. There are various different approaches. Okay, so we will be really drifting into some interesting but irrelevant for today's session. So okay, moving forward from here. So this is how the typical financial measures. One of the very popular financial measure is earnings before interests, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Pure financial metric, EBITDA. And typically, your chairman, if you're heading a company as a CEO, is going to ask you about the EBITDA, right? EBITDA. What that means, maybe somebody will explain to you someday. But yes, this is a purely financial measure, and most of the companies are talking only of this, of nothing else. Not increasing your operational efficiencies, not focusing on innovations, not even measuring the customer satisfaction levels. And this can lead to a disaster. So, in addition to measuring EBITDA, you shall be measuring your operational efficiencies as well, your customer satisfaction levels as well, and your employee satisfaction, happiness, and innovation continual improvement index as well. So, the key premise of the balanced scorecard approach is that the financial accounting matrix companies traditionally follow to monitor their strategic goals are insufficient to keep companies on track. Financial results shed light on what has happened in the past, not on where the business is or should be headed. The balanced scorecard system aims to provide a more comprehensive view to stakeholders by complementing financial measures with additional matrices that gauge performance areas such as customer satisfaction and product. What a wonderful paragraph. I have taken it from somewhere in a research paper. So it very nicely sums up, and I like this part. These results shed light on what has happened in the past, not on where the business is or should be headed. Where the business should be headed towards the direction of customer satisfaction, customer delight. And if you're not focusing on, then where the business is headed, that is being told by your operational efficiencies and your people employee engagement. So there are four different perspectives, very popular word: financial perspective, customer perspective, internal analysis perspective, learning and growth perspective. So financial perspectives includes measures such as operating income, profitability, return on investment. Customer analysis perspective focuses on investment in customer service and customer retention. Internal analysis looks at how internal business processes are linked to the strategic goals, and learning and growth perspective assesses employee satisfaction, employee retention, and the innovations that are happening in your organization. So what it does, how it helps your businesses, it aligns. It links everybody's day-to-day work to the organization's vision and objective. It helps us prioritize our projects, products, and services. It helps us monitor and communicate the progress towards meeting the strategic targets. And it increases four things: financial health, number one; customer satisfaction, number two; efficiency, number three; knowledge and innovation, number four. These are about the four perspectives we just discussed. So these are the four perspectives: the financial perspective, the customer perspective, the learning and growth perspective, and the internal efficiency perspective. And the meaning of financial perspective is, how do we look to the share? Shareholder is concerned about earning per share, profitability, return on investment. The internal business perspective is, what must we excel at? We must be able to reduce the cycle time. We must be able to eliminate the waste. We must be able to reduce the changeover time. We must be able to reduce the breakdown time. We must be able to reduce the time it takes to market, from product conceptualization to the product launch. These are the areas we must be excelling at. This is our internal business perspective. And what is innovation and learning perspective? Can we continue to improve and add value? And how will we be able to continually improve and innovate and learn, add value? By prioritizing and focusing and giving credit to innovation and learning. And ultimately, very importantly, customer perspective. How do the customers see us? Only those organizations survive, only those organizations can thrive who know their customer and who change their products, their services, their way of working with what the customer wants. And the customer expectations will keep changing. As the new technologies come up, they will expect something more. So, the balanced scorecard is a comprehensive, exhaustive, big picture that tells us that we need to have a look from all these four perspectives. And how to convert this exactly into something actionable? This, my dear friends, is what? How do we look to the shareholder? So, for financial perspective, can we create a table? What is the measure? Return on investment. What is the goal? Profitability. What is the goal? Share price. What is the goal? We can define. Yes or no? Similarly, what must we excel at? How do we measure it? Cycle time is one. Breakdown time is one. Time to market is one. And what is the present status and what are the goals? Can we write that? Similarly, can we continue to innovate and continually improve? How do we measure it? Number of kaizens, number of continual improvements, the employee happiness index, employee retention, employee loyalty. We can measure that and we can see where are we right now and where can be the goals. And similarly, how can we measure the customer satisfaction, customer repeat value, customer loyalty, customer satisfaction surveys, and we can find out where are we and where can be the present goals. So the typical companies, the old school companies, will be limited only to the financial perspective. Slightly evolved companies will be focusing on KRs. This is O of OKR and this is KR of key result areas of OKR. How to reach there? Reduce your cycle time, reduce your breakdown time, eliminate waste, reduce your inventory and so on. And
the operational excellence.
The operational excellence thing. And even more evolved companies will be talking of continual improvement and in employee engagement. And even more evolved companies will be talking of customer satisfaction, because ultimately if the customer is satisfied, only then the business success will come. All these, my dear friends, are linked. So this is the slightly more detailed version of the same concept that I just discussed. So you look at all the four perspectives, define the measures, define the present values, define the targets, and define the initiatives that you're going to take. So can you see how a nicely mind map can be created here? So when I'm looking at my financial measures, I will see that, okay, this is how I'm going to measure my success. These are the objectives, right? Or the targets. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. And then a logical extension of the same that comes very handy with your Hoshin Canary and X matrix thing. Who is going to do that? Who is going to support him? By what time this project will be complete? So this table can be further expanded. And similarly, you can write down for the business excellence processes, that is internal business processes. Similarly, you can write down and extend what you are going to do for your learning and growth perspective, and similarly for the customer's happiness perspective. And this is one of the examples of how people have done that. So, for example, for financial, these are the objectives, these are the targets, and this is the present status. And hope you agree, Shweta ma'am, Ajay sir, Tangaraj sir, Praveen sir, that we can further then write down what are the initiatives we can take against these. So for all different so now you can see when you are thinking from these 4 different perspectives, a lot of clarity is now coming. Yes, and this will help not only the top management understand how the strategy is to be deployed, what exactly is to be done, and where it is to be done, where it really matters. So looking at from all the 4 perspectives, very comprehensive, very simple to understand, very simple to communicate, very simple to monitor, actionable deployment matrix is now ready. So at the center, for as always, there is visions, there is goals, and there is strategy, and then you can further build upon those. So this can be further expanded, Shweta ma'am. So this is where your, let's say I will be talking of this recruit partners, right? So the current state is last year we recruited 11 new partners. This year I want to recruit 10 new business partners. Now for that, I will not stop here. I will extend this row. What is exactly what I am going to do? I'm going to, for that matter, let's say, as for my consultancy, I can talk to you. I run a management consulting company known, the name is IBS Consulting. So last year I had 11 new business partners where I started consulting them on management. Now this year's target is to have another 10. So this will remain only a dream until unless I find out that how I am going to recruit more partners. I will be approaching them through industry forums. I will be contacting them through my common friends. I will be becoming more visible on, let's say, social media, some digital marketing, and so on. So can you see that this is how I can create a comprehensive map to success? And then I can decide, okay, that these are the various actionables, and then I will distribute these to my various different business leaders, business managers, supervisors, and then we will work hand in hand towards reaching the common goal of achieving the vision. Okay, now what is a strategy map? We have been talking that we'll be learning from the business, this BSc to strategy map. As you will remember that they talked of a strategy map, having challenges with a strategy, map it. How that is to be mapped is this way. There are then 4, they came up with this idea that there are 4 different stratas for your approach of navigating to success. For that matter, on a lighter note, I am right now writing a novel, a business novel, and maybe that will be out in another 3 months. And the name of that novel that I am writing is Navigating to Success. How to navigate to your vision, how to achieve that success. Maybe when that will be out, I will be recommending few people to buy that. But okay, right now, so this is the map that BSc people, business scorecard people gave us for navigating to success. They tell us there are 4 different stratas and they are linked with each other. At the very bottom, is the strata of organizational capacity. Then there is strata of internal processes. Then there is a strata of customer satisfaction. And then there is a strata of financial. So how that happens? They say that at the very core, Tungaraj sir, Ajay sir, Shweta ma'am, Praveen sir, and all others who are not on cameras. Okay. So at the very core, at the very foundation is your organizational capacity. So if you improve knowledge and skills of your people, if this is about the people and this is about the physical infra, if you improve your tools and technology and infra, what will happen? You improve knowledge and skill, what will happen? This is going to improve your process efficiency. If you improve your tools and technology or your physical infrastructure, better machinery, what is going to lead to? Increased process efficiency. What it will lead to? Lower cycle time. What it will lead to? Lower wait time for the customer. Now we have moved from this internal process to customer strata. Can you see that? This will lead to lower wait time. This will lead to improved customer retention. This will lead to increased revenue. This will lead to increased profitability. This is exactly what you want. So this is the strategy map, and this is a symbol. So what is the leading question? This is the this is how. So if this happens, then what will it? So if you want to create, if you want to let's say, if I want to increase profitability, how? Lower cost. How? Increase process efficiency. How? Improve knowledge and skills. So there are two approaches. You can start from here. Obviously, you would like to start from here, and then you will see that, okay, how I can increase my profitability. I need to lower the cost, and I need to increase the revenue, right? The sale value. This will make me more profitable. So how to lower cost? Increase process efficiency. How to increase process efficiency? Improve knowledge and skills, and so on. So now can you see, this is the strategy map. Your strategy is being visualized through these four different perspectives, four different stratas of your pathway to success. And now you can see how these are so very closely related. So, my dear friends, this can be built in more and more details. So, typically, this will remain at the very foundational level. There will be learning and growth. The next level will be the internal business of processes. The next will be about the customer satisfaction. And this will lead to your financial thriving. This is another example of your strategy map. So, why I started with your OKRs and KPIs and MBOs, because this is how the knowledge has been evolving for humankind. We started with management by objectives, then we realized that KPIs need to be there, then we realized that OKRs need to be there, then we realized that if OKRs are focusing solely on financial, that is not going to happen. So we created a strategy map, and then we realized that there are four different strategies, and at the foundation this is there, and this is how our map to success. Strategy mapping can vastly improve any strategy communication effort. Most people are visual learners, and therefore,
Sir, one quick question, sir.
Yeah, please, sir.
Sir, how do we compare the balance scorecard between a purely profit-oriented company like a Google or Apple or in any of these things to a balance scorecard of a organization like say Accenture or any of the BPO outlets? I'm asking this question with an experience in the background of actually preparing updating the balance scorecard for the head of Accenture at some point of time in my career long ago. So the orientation will be different from a cost oriented, a cost center kind of an operation to a purely a profit making kind of an orientation. How do you differentiate these two?
Very correct. So I would thank you very much for asking this question. I will really put this slightly different, and that is going to answer you. Every organization for that matter is profit centric. The next session I'm going to have is about theory of constraint, which says that the only thing that you work for is profit. Only thing that you work for is money. Nothing else. Everything else is just a cover up operation, right? So be it you, be it me, I'm teaching you because reason is going to pay me. If today Dr. GSK calls me and say that Mr. Vivek, I'm not going to pay you, I will call him back and say, Dr. GSK, I'm not going to take the lecture. As simple as that. So let's stop talking that there are certain organizations which is focused on profit only and which are not. Every organization is focused on only one thing. There is only one goal, which is making profit. Even for there are certain organizations, let's say for very rare organizations, let's say for that Indian military, they are not working for profits. So, but there are only very rare exceptions to the rule. All other, even the so-called NGOs or not-for-profit organizations are also basically for-profit organizations. They just call them not-for-profit organizations. But yes, there are certain organizations. For example, I gave you an example of Indian military or Indian defense forces. They are not working for profits. They are working for some other noble goals.
Service. Okay.
So, but leaving them apart, around 99%, 99.5% organizations are working for profit. Now the approach is that there are two different and both valid approaches. Certain organizations believe, for example, Google, that if they bring in the best of the minds, best of the brains, and pay them handsomely, without any care for whether or not they are happy, because they believe that as long as I'm paying them handsomely, they are happy, whether or not they are made to work for 16 hours. So that is one very valid approach. No arguments on that. But for the most of the organizations, and I realize that if you are not being able to pay that handsomely, that Google pays or Meta pays, then at the very least, respect your people. So that is a winning situation. So this kind of answers you. So if you are able to pay just as, let's say, Meta people pay you, they will buy you out. Just as they say in that very popular movie, I will make you an offer that you cannot resist. I will make you an offer that you cannot resist. So that is something phenomenal. But apart from that, in addition to money, people also want respect. So until unless you buy them out, and don't care for their otherwise happiness. But if you are not doing that, so what you do, you keep people happy and incentivize innovation, incentivize continual improvement. And therefore, this approach of balanced scorecard comes in very handy. It tells us that this is also a very important area, rather equally important perspective of learning and growth of people happiness, as important as your financial metrics. And if you are measuring your financial metrics and trying to improve that, and on the simultaneously you are measuring your happiness indexes and trying to improve that, that is what is going to make your organization very, very and the strong argument for that is, probably I will be able to show you, the strongest argument is this strata map. This strata map says that the very foundation is employee knowledge and skills and innovation. On this, you can create efficiencies. Okay, so that kind of answers your question, but there is no final answer to this question even now.
Agreed.
So there are
Agreed,
certain
absolutely.
organizations, yes. So, but for most of the organization, I will recommend this approach of BSC, where you measure and look at all the four perspectives. So another similar example of the same. So Mr. Rockwater's strategic objectives deployment says that you start with a mission, then you create some kind of a strategy, and this is how your strategy is to be deployed through four different perspectives across the whole organization. Another example of balanced scorecard and strategy map brought together. So now balanced scorecard is not a standalone tool. Its complementary tool is your strategy mapping, which is on your screen right now. So when even I was doing by BSc some balance scorecards from 20 years ago, we are not using or creating this strategy map also. But this strategy map also helps us create a kind of visual explanation of why we are prioritizing these projects. This helps me explain to top management that why they must spend on, let's say, people competency building. Yes. So otherwise, they will not realize the benefit of that perspective, that investment. Okay. So this was more or less a rather short, but yet quite comprehensive overview of what a balance scorecard is, how it has to be complemented with the strategy map, how both balance scorecard and strategy map are two sides of the same coin, which makes a complete coin and helps you understand, identify, and prioritize the various projects that you are going to do. So with that, I am happy that we quite nicely covered the balance scorecard thing. So who all are happy, show me one thumbs up. Who all are not happy, show me a big thumbs down. So that will be a learning for me. And that is coming from learning to understand the customer satisfaction. Yes, I want to understand you as a customer, how happy you are with the discussion we had. Now, this gives me another opportunity to move to next topic, which is known as theory of constraints. Theory of constraints. In a nutshell, apparently, and we are going to see that this is a wrong belief, that there is a big conflict between the approach of lean and Kaizen and the approach of theory of constraints. Because the lean methodology, you people are going to gain competence in lean Six Sigma. So not only in the statistical tools, but also on the lean methodology. Now, lean methodology, as probably you people are aware, is built upon Toyota production system, has developed on those. And Toyota production system, the foundational building blocks are Kaizen and respect for people. Two foundational building blocks. Based on these two foundational building blocks, that is Kaizen for process improvement, continual process improvement, and respect for people, that is making people more and more competent and make them feel respected so that they are happy to work for you. They are happy to contribute. So one of the core tools of Toyota production system, and for that matter lean, is continual improvement. For that, a tool is used which is known as Kaizen. Kaizen. Mr. Imaki Masai, he introduced this concept to the whole world. And incidentally, I am also part of the institute that he initiated, the Kaizen Institute. I worked for them I also worked on them as a senior consultant. So I somehow know what their concepts are. And they say the definition of Kaizen that the most people understand is wrong. They say that typically people wrongly believe that Kaizen is a small improvement. Small improvement. We at Kaizen, Kaizen. We at the Kaizen Institute say that Kaizen is small change. Many small changes for the better. And many small changes for the better ultimately lead to a big improvement. It is not about the small improvement. We are looking at the big improvement, but with the approach that we are going to have many small changes for the better. So the Kaizen says change for the better every day, everywhere, by everybody. Change for the better, small changes for the better, every day, everywhere, and everybody. This is what Kaizen is. Now, this is a very popular and highly successful, highly respected theory of lean. Now, apparently, and please mind my words, apparently, theory of constraints says completely different things. And that also makes a lot of sense. He says doesn't make any sense to make improvements everywhere. Just a couple of minutes ago, all of you were very happy. You said, yes, yes, Vivek sir, whatever you're saying is very correct. Everyone must improve everywhere, every day, everyone must improve. So you were kind of convinced. Yes. Now I'm going to convince you with a completely different perspective. Now I'm going to say that just give it a deeper thought. Does it make any sense making improvement everywhere rather than focusing on where you need to make improvement? If you need to make your, let's say, speaking skills important, better, is it going to help me go to a gym every day and making all my muscles more stronger everywhere? Not necessarily. Yes or no? So make improvements where it matters. Make improvements at the bottleneck. Make improvements at the constraint. Not everywhere randomly, indiscriminately. This is also a very valid argument. Yes, Ajay sir? Both these arguments, when you hear the argument number one, you feel yes, it is very correct. Everyone must make improvements everywhere, every day.
Perspective is changed actually.
Yes, perspective is changing. And when you look deeper, then you realize that there is as such no conflict. The culture has to be, the thought process has to be, the competence has to be of improvement every day, everywhere, by everyone. But the focus has to be on identifying the bottleneck and focusing your efforts there. Yes, so there as such, so apparently you will see that there is a big conflict. Somebody is saying improve everywhere. Somebody is saying improve only where it matters. But then you realize that the one is talking, just as Ajay sir has very correctly mentioned, that one is talking of a culture, your mindset, your approach. And the other one is talking of your exact focus. Right? So then you identify that, okay, this is exactly what. So the very popular metaphor, and I will be coming to my presentation in a couple of minutes, the very popular metaphor, and that kind of summarizes the thought process behind theory of constraint is that, Ajay sir, I ask you a question. There is a chain I have, and every link can withstand a weight of 100 kgs, but there is one link that can withstand a load of only 20 kgs. 100 links, 99 links can withstand a load of 100 kg, and there is one link that can withstand a load of 20 kgs. How strong is my chain? My chain is strong only as strong
20
as
kgs.
my weakest link. How much weight I can lift with this chain? Not 100 kgs, not 85, not 50, but only 19 kgs, because my chain, irrespective of the fact that so many links are very strong, but my chain overall is only as strong as the weakest link. Show me a thumbs up if all of us are agreeable. And therefore, the need is to identify the weakest link. And therefore, the idea is to improve upon that weakest link. Strengthen that weakest link. And that is going to give us the maximum benefit, not improving the strength of each and every link. Yes or no? Simple. So now this gives me an opportunity to move to the share. Where is this thing? Share, yes, here. And okay, theory of constraints. Okay. So theory of constraints. What is the theory of constraints and how does it compare to the lean thinking? I just gave you an overview of the apparent conflict with the lean thinking and why there is as such no conflict that we are going to establish in a few minutes from now. So in 1984, Mr. Goldratt, the full name is Eliyahu M. Goldratt. He is an Israeli chemical engineer, not an industrial engineer. He came up with this book and this concept of theory of constraints in the form of a novel. The name of the novel is The Goal. And for me, he still remains an inspiration. And that is why I am also writing a novel, similar business novel, with my way of whatever I will learn over so many years. And the name of my novel is Navigating to Success. So it is, this is, the inspiration is drawn from him. He wrote this novel, The Goal, which is a very interesting story of a manufacturing company and its manager, and how, what challenges he was facing and how he overcame those challenges by getting some advice from a sensei. Sensei is a guide, and identifying that the ultimately the only two things are important. One is to realize that what is the goal, and what is the method to achieve that goal is to identify the bottleneck or the constraint, and to make sure that you perform at the bottleneck. Okay. So it very straightforwardly says that what is the goal? The goal for everyone on this planet Earth is to make money and to keep making money. Find ways by which you can keep making money. That is all. Nothing else matters. And this approach is valid. Most of the people will probably agree. So what is the goal? The goal is to make money and find ways by which you will keep making money. Not making money only once, but creating an organization, creating a system, creating a process, creating an infra that will help you keep making money in the future as well, in spite of the changing technologies, in spite of the competitors coming in spite of changing customer requirements and demands. So what is the goal, Shweta ma'am? What is the goal? The goal is to make
To
money
make money.
and creates a system that will help you create money in the future, keep making money. So that is the goal. And in this novel, he introduced the concept of theory of constraints. It is a very popular book, business book, and over 3 million copies were sold some 10 years ago itself when I captured this. And then they also made a movie on this, just as they make they make movies on the novels of Dan Brown, The Lost Symbol and the code. So they have made a movie also. So that is a business movie. You can download that from YouTube and see. So it's a very interesting way of showcasing your concept to the world in a manner of storytelling. So theory of constraints is an organizational change model that is focused on profit management. Essential concept of TOC, that is theory of constraint, is that every organization must have, it is just his English. When he says must have, it actually means that every organization has at least one constraint. Every organization and every person for that matter has one, at the very least, at one basic constraint. And what is the constraint? Constraint is any one factor that limits the organization from getting of whatever it strives for. And what an organization strives for? Profit. So, and constraint is any factor that limits the organization from getting more of profit. So, the point is that we must know what is the constraint, how to identify the constraint, and how to eliminate the constraint. So, he started by this concept that in the today's business scenario, there are typically only 4 broad categories of constraint. Your constraint will lie in any one of these four broad categories. One is the constraint of orders, also known as the constraint of market. Another is the constraint of capacity of what you can do. Another is constraint of raw material or constraint of supply. And the last category is constraint of cash. And if you give a deep thought to this, Ajay Bhai, Thangaraja sir, you will realize that yes, of course, these are the only four broad categories. Either the market is the constraint, right? There is no more demand than this. Okay. So there is a particular demand. So market is a constraint. Possible in certain scenarios. In certain scenarios, maybe there is a lot of scope in the market, but there is a constraint in what you can make, your manufacturing infra, your organization, right? That is a constraint of capacity. Sometimes there can be a constraint of raw material. Only recently we realized, and probably some of you might have noticed, that the whole world's automobile production came to a halt because of non-availability of semiconductor chips, because of non-availability of rare earth metals. So even if there was a demand, even if there was a capacity, since there were a constraint on raw material, that is rare earth metals and semiconductor chips, and therefore the automobiles were not being able to produce. Or for that matter, you can think of your Strait of Hormuz. If there is a constraint of supply on, let's say, petrochemical products and fertilizers, that is going to impact your business. So there can be a unfavorable constraint of raw material, and maybe there is a everything is there, but even if you do not have the money, so there is a constraint of cash. So the cash also decides how much you can scale up, how big organization you can create, and so on. So broadly speaking, the four broad categories of constraints. So the constraint of orders is also typically beyond our control. Constraint of raw material is also beyond our constraint. Of cash also will be gradually taken care. As we grow our business, cash will come, we will pump that cash back into the business and so on. Right now, there is not too much that we can do about cash. But yes, of course, there is a lot that we can do about constraint of capacity. Because there are bottlenecks in any manufacturing or service provision setup, and therefore we'll be focusing more on this constraint on capacity. First, let's have a quick look at some of the details of what do we mean by constraint of order. Constraint of order is also known as the market constraint. What it means, the company has more than enough capacity to produce goods, but there are not enough customer orders to buy them. For example, HMT watches. For example, Bajaj scooters. They can produce, but there is not enough demand for analog watches anymore. There is not enough demand for two-wheeler as such scooters, right? So this is also known as, formally it is known as the market constraint. Now, here the bottleneck is external to the company. There is not too much that you can do on this, but yes, you can focus on marketing and sales to generate more and more. Second type of constraint is constraint of capacity, the constraint of resources. It means that the market wants to buy more products than your team or machines or system can physically produce. But you cannot produce more than that. So, example, in the beginning of the session, do you realize I was talking to one of the coordinators of Vision Excellence, and I asked him that why the session is only for 8 to 10. He said, sir, we have all other classes also, and our trainers are engaged. So till last year, we were having sessions from 7 to 10. But this year, we have got a constraint of capacity. Although there is a demand, but we have got a constraint on capacity. And this constraint of capacity can be constraint for a single machine, constraint of non-availability of skilled labors, constraint of, let's say, a big shop floor, or constraint of, let's say, storage capacity. Can be. This is the resource constraint. The third constraint, as we discussed, is constraint of raw material, also known as the supply constraint. And then there is the financial constraint. And the fixed constraint at times is a policy constraint. Can be a government policy, can be a policy that is binding upon you. So at times, and I am fighting with a very different, difficult scenario that is coming from the policy. I am consulting for a company who was till last year working with everyone working 12 hours. Now, as soon as they started exporting to some US and European countries, they insist that there no overtime. They insist that your people must work only 8 hours a day. And as such, the government also mandates that even if you pay double the rate, you cannot, and even if people are willing, no overtime shall happen more than 50 hours in 3 months. Do you realize? 50 hours in 3 months. That is your labor code says. 50 hours in 3 months. There is a cap on the overtime you can have. Even if people are willing to do that. Even if the management is willing to pay double the rate. Even if management is willing to provide the transportation. Government does not allow. So that is a policy constraint. So this is a broad overview of how the constraints look like. And what exactly is the theory of constraint? Theory of constraint defines a set of tools that change agents can use to manage constraint, thereby increasing profit. I will not spend too much time on reading this out because the point is that there is a five-step methodology that is used in theory of constraint. What's that? Number one, let's identify what is the system constraint. What is the constraint in my system? Which machine? I will give you one example. Thangaraj sir, I want you to answer one of my queries. Suppose I have 5 machines in sequence. 5 machines in sequence. First machines can produce 400 pieces, let's say in a shift. Second machine also 400. Third machine 200 pieces. Fourth machine 400 pieces. Fifth machine 500 pieces. How much is the maximum output I can take out from this sequence of machines?
So it has to pass from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, every product has to pass through this sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Machine 1, 400, machine 2, 400, machine 3, 200, machine 4, 400, machine 5, 500.
200.
200, that is the constraint. So even if I have got a spare capacity at machine number 1 and 2, an extremely high available capacity in machine number 5, that is of no use to me. So the constraint or the bottleneck for me is my machine number 3. So step number 1 is to identify where is the bottleneck. Which department, which function, which machine. And typically, organizations do not spend necessary effort and time on identifying this. They try to optimize the local efficiency. Machine number 1's operator will try to maximize his production because you are rewarding operator of machine number 1 based on his production. He will keep making products. Similarly, operator number 2 of machine number 2 will also keep making. You have not realized, you have not stopped them. Yes, Shweta ma'am?
Sir, I have a question. If the theory of constraint will be applicable to non-producing processes also?
Yeah. Everywhere. As we move forward, you will see that this applies to every business. Only a couple of years ago, I gave a consulting to one of the dentists. And based on this concept, he was able to double his business because he identified that the constraint lies in his changeover of his OT. And he was sitting idle while the OT was getting readied.
Mhm. Got it.
So in the same infra, they made some small changes. So this is applicable to any service industry, any manufacturing industry, any software development, even military operations, everywhere. This Mr. Goldratt is an Israeli. The Israeli Defense Forces very seriously listened to him. Now to his son, he's no more. And they adopt his teachings. Okay. So the first step is to identify where the constraint is. Then decide and find out how to exploit the constraint. The meaning of exploiting the constraint is that giving it the topmost priority. I will give you one example. Right now, I do not have sufficient time to show you that experiment, but I will just explain and probably you will be able to visualize. There is a bottle and there is a bottleneck and there is a water filled in that. Just put the bottle upside down. What will happen? The water will come out of the bottle. Dug, 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 dug. Now you will say, okay, that is the end of the story. But no, that is not the end of the story. Take the bottle, shake it like this, create a whirlpool, and then turn it. What will happen? There will be the water will be coming out. Yes. And
Spirally.
the pani will come out very fast.
Right.
With the same bottle, with the same water, with the same opening, you have created a whirlwind. So that earlier water was coming out like how? One gulp was water coming out, air was going in, it was pushing the water down, and so on. Now, if you have created a whirlpool, what will happen? With the same bottleneck, with the same constraint, now what you are doing, you are exploiting. In addition to creating that whirlpool, you also put a straw in there. And you create a whirlpool and you just Fuko in the bottle with your straw, and then so there is a forced draft also that you have created. An experiment will show you that with the same bottle, if the water was coming out in 1 minute, with the same constraint, by creating a whirlpool, by putting in a straw, by injecting some small air pressure into it, it will come out in 20 seconds. Cut to 1/5 of the time. This is known as exploiting the constraint. Now, third is subordinating everything else to the constraint. Everything in your organization is going to run to make sure that the people at the constraint are never starved of anything. कोई भी ब्रेकडाउन होगा सबसे पहले किसको प्रायोरिटी देंगे? कोई भी ऑपरेटर छुट्टी पे जाएगा, बाकी सारी मशीनों को बंद करके ऑपरेटर को कहां पे लगाएंगे? वहां पर। तो जितना वो बनाती है मशीन, बाकी सारा प्लांट भी कितना बनाएगा? उतना ही बनाएगा. क्योंकि if the operator number 3 is making 200 only, what is the point? Thangaraj sir, Shweta ma'am, Praveen sir, Ajay bhai, what is the point if the rest of the people produce 500, 400 pieces? No point. So everyone must dance to the tunes of your constraint. And we call it a drum. So this constraint is a drum, and everyone else dances to the tune of drum. If you do not dance to the tune of drums, you are creating waste. If operator number 1, Thangaraj sir, is making 400, is it going to help me? No. Operator 2 making 400, is it going to help me? No. If they make only 200, it is going to help me. But please note, when I say subordinating everything else, and this is where the conflict comes from the lean. Lean says zero inventory within the line. It says you keep some inventory intentionally, consciously at the feed side of the machine number 3. So even if something drastically wrong happens at operator 1, operator 2, this machine never stops. You make sure intentionally, consciously, knowingly that you are creating some inventory at the feed side of the machine number 3, that is your constraint machine, so that even in the worst of the scenarios, it doesn't get starved. Makes sense? Yes? You will see a visualization of that. Then this is known as subordinating everything else. Then you find ways by which you can elevate or remove this constraint. improve technology, improve machinery, get better skilled people, etc., 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 make it more reliable, whatever. So this is how the sequence of step number 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you have been able to alleviate the constraint, then you go to step number 1 once again, because then some other machine has become the constraint. Is that clear? So in our example now, which machine is constraint? Machine number 1 and 2 are the constraint now. And so on. This is the 5-step methodology of theory of constraints. So Mr. Goldratt provided a foundation for achieving change from theory of constraint, change through the theory of constraint, by defining a set of 3 essential measurements that derive the change process. He says, and whatever we have learned in the first half of our session, that you measure KPIs in terms of financial, in the operational KPIs, people happiness indexes, customer happiness indexes. He said, no. Only 3 KPIs you need to capture. One is, you will see those. One is your throughput, another is your inventory, and another is your operating cost. These 3. Throughput is how much, the rate at which the entire organization generates money. Inventory, all the money that our organization invests in things that it intends to sell. Third is the operating expenses. He says that only these 3 matrices are to be measured. Throughput is to be maximized, and inventory and the operating expenses are to be minimized, but not at the cost of throughput. Throughput is paramount. Throughput is paramount. At times, people very wrongly believe that cutting operating expenses is going to help them. Let's make sure, and I will explain, Praveen sir, Shweta ma'am, Ajay bhai, a very interesting example. Last year, I was consulting to one MSME, handcrafted tiles manufacturer, and I realized that their constraint was super highly skilled people, artists, so-called artisans, who used to give the final touches. And on an average, every artisan was costing around rupees 25,000 per month, whereas the ordinary workers were coming at 12,000 or 15,000 per month. Now they had a HR bill. Okay, this is how I spend on salaries and wages. And then he said that, okay, I spend this, I'm just trying to simplify things, 25,000 per month and 10 people. So 2,50,000 rupees per month on his artisans. So Vek sir, my budget is not allowing them. Let's cut them to 75%. इतने हाईली लोगों का थोड़ा सा हटाओ इनको. मैंने बोला no. This is first, let me study how your business runs. And then my advice was that, my dear sir, just double their number. He said, अरे भाई क्या बात कर रहे हो? आपको बुलाया मैंने कॉस्ट कटिंग के लिए, आप बोल रहे हो
कॉस्ट बढ़ा रहे हो.
तो मैंने बोला कि भाई आप मेरे एक बार करने से देखो, because everything is getting stuck at these fellows, and then your all the rest of the people and your machinery is sitting idle because they are the bottleneck. As soon as he didn't listen to me completely, so initially he added 5 people and his turnover was 1.5 times. Profit 1.5 times. He was doing a business of rupees around 2 crores per month and making up, roughly speaking, a profit of rupees 40 lakh per month, which rose to rupees 60. So by investing 2.5 lakh, he was able to add rupees 20 lakhs. So the throughput thing is paramount. Then only you think of reducing inventory and reducing the operating expenses. So Mr. Goldratt in theory of expenses tells us there are only 3 matrices: throughput, inventory, and operating expenses. You must try and maximize throughput, try and minimize inventory, minimize and reduce operating expenses, but beware that not at the cost of throughput. Throughput is paramount. Make sure throughput increases. And if you are able to increase your throughput while reducing inventory and operating expenses, nothing can beat you. That is what the whole theory goes on. So in nutshell, he says the goal is to make money and to keep making money. Matrices are throughput, inventory, and operating expenses. Constraint is the weakest link in your chain. The methodology is the 5-step methodology. Identify, exploit, subordinate everything, elevate, and return back to the next constraint. Very simple, very common sense approach. So these three measures, they are the key to relating local decisions to the performance in the entire system. And the lean, how that compares, I have also discussed that with you. So lean primarily apparently says everywhere, every day, everyone, but he says that with a focus. Right? So if I was working only with lean, I will be spending similar amount of time in increasing efficiency in machine number 1 from 400 to 430. Machine number 2, 400 to 450. Machine number 3, 200 to 230. But that is not going to help me. So why not focus all my efforts on machine number 3? That is what his teachings tell us. All this is more general. So he says that this is the last slide that I'm going to discuss, then I will very quickly show you some other slides. So Mr. Goldratt attempts to move the focus away from cost reduction. He says, no, it is just as I gave you that example. The focus is not to be on cost reduction. अरे भाई उनको 4 आदमी को हटाए थे, बंद जाती वो कंपनी. बात समझ में आ रही है अजय भाई? ये अगर मैं नहीं जाता वहां पर भगवान की तरह से, तो वो हमारे अग्रवाल साहब तो 4 आदमी को हटा देते. कॉस्ट कटिंग होते ही वो कंपनी बैठ जाती. So the focus is not to be on cost cutting. The focus is to be on maximizing the throughput. So the point is that both of them are saying the same thing. Lean also tells the same thing when you go into those details, and it tells us to identify your tomorrow we are going to have a look at that VSM, which tells us identify those operations which are not meeting with your takt time or not efficient, and improve there. So this is how lean thinking matches, and I've shared all these slides with you so you can spend some time on reading all these. They're very self-explanatory. Whatever we have discussed is going to help you a lot in understanding all these concepts in a very simple manner, nothing difficult at all. So this is what the last slide I would like to share with you, discuss with you. The concept is called drum, buffer, and row. So, as I told you, and I will seek help from Ajay Bhai. Ajay Bhai, look at this. I have got 5 machines lined up in a sequence, A, B, C, D, E. Machine A, 200 pieces per hour. Machine B, 180 pieces per hour. Machine C, 150 pieces per hour. Machine D, 170 pieces per hour. Machine D, 190 pieces per hour. Which is the constraint?
150, sir. C.
Machine C, 150 pieces per hour, because I cannot produce more than that, even if my other machines are capable of doing that. So that is point number 1. Point number 2, shall I keep 0 inventory here, or shall I keep some buffer inventory here?
Yes.
So that buffer inventory, because this is against apparently the principles of lean, because lean says minimum inventory. It says that the point is to make money. The point is to make sure that the seed machine never stops. So it is a wise step to keep a buffer over here. Yes, and then this is a rope which says that whenever this buffer declines, you send a signal to these machines to produce, so that they maintain this buffer, so that this machine works at its optimum speed all the time. Never ever such situation happens that this machine is starving. There is nothing to feed this machine. Very common sense approach. There shall not be any situation where this machine, we are not able to feed this machine, or this machine is in a breakdown, or there is no operator, or there is no spare, or nothing. Right? So we are subordinating everything else. So this is the concept of, we call this drum, meaning that everyone else has to dance to the tune of this drum. So if it produces 150 pieces per hour, how much this shall produce? Only 150, and so on. And we must keep a buffer to make sure that this machine never starves. This is the concept of drum, buffer, and row. DBR, very popularly known. Now, another way of, and you will be having
Yet dissatisfaction will be there. If we want to achieve 150 only, then we can create the buffer and we can operate on the 150. But if we want 170, then we have to change or upgrade that machine.
yes, so we will have to know that exactly is, my dear friend, we are going to discuss tomorrow in
Okay.
VSM, value stream mapping. So what you said, 170 is a customer demand. So that is called the takt time in VSM,
Takt time,
value
right.
stream. That is called the takt time in a way, right? Takt time is a measure of time, this is a measure of demand, they are somehow related. But
Right.
your 170 thing is deciding the takt time. Now you must improve your processes, your system, your setup in such a manner that you are able to meet the takt time. Right? So if you are not reaching the takt time, this is not going to help. But how to meet that? This comes under your scope of improvement here. So all your improvement initiatives shall be focused on machine number C so that you are able to improve its performance to the level of customer demand.
That is all the continual improvement, sir.
Yes,
To maximize the productivity of this machine C, that is all part of continual improvement. And when you enhance that capacity, like that elimination or the fourth strategy, enhance, there you are actually increasing the capacity. So you're going for a breakthrough kind of a improvement.
exactly. Maybe a breakthrough, or maybe you're with your Kaizen approach, many small improvements leading to a
Correct.
big improvement.
Major improvement.
So
yeah, right.
today I would like to close over here. I have covered whatever I wanted to cover today, and I hope you people had a nice interaction.
Yes, sir.
Good, sir.
Okay,
Had a
so
good session today.
thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll meet, and tomorrow I will share my LinkedIn ID also with you. So I keep posting some interesting articles also. But more important than that, as professionals in this business, we need to be connected and we need to promote each other.
Right.
Because how the logic in LinkedIn works, how the logic in any social media thing works, more and more people come, interact. So you see, this is a God sent opportunity for us. There are, let's say, 12 people here, and all 12 can follow each other, and then all 12 can comment and react and post of each other. That is going to give it more and more visibility, right?
What is your linked ID, sir?
Let me check. Yes, it's here. I am sending that in the chat box. Yes, it is there. So thank you very much, my dear friends, for being such a wonderful participant in this panel discussion. Tomorrow, since only a few people were on cameras, tomorrow I'll expect all of you to be on cameras. So maybe tomorrow, if you need to shave or do some makeup, whatever, do be camera ready. So that you're not shy of coming on camera tomorrow, and we will have a even more rocking session. And VSM is again something very, very interesting. And for that matter, I am happy to share with you that only last month I was invited by one of the most prestigious organizations, Adani Defense in Gwalior, to work for one project for them on value stream mapping. So Adani's is one of the largest industrial setup in India today, most successful, and their most prestigious venture is where they are making for defense. They are making machines on there, and they want me to explain to them and implement value stream mapping. And it is our good fortune that tomorrow we are going to have a 2-hour session on value stream mapping. So why I'm mentioning this? This is more for the benefit of the people who are not on camera today. So my dear friends, come learn VSM tomorrow so that you may, if required, help me in that project. So as the project grows, I will maybe require some helping hands there, but I will call only those people who I know by face.
Nice, nice. You're
Okay,
working
so
on theory of constraints. Theory of constraints. You are the
MBO,
gold rat.
rather more of MBO, management by objectives. Okay, so my dear friend, thank you very much. See you.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you. Nicely
Thank you,
explained. Thank
sir.
you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, sir.